Hello. So today I'm going to be going over SSH tunneling. Topics I'm going to cover is what is SSH tunneling, a forward tunnel and an example of it, a reverse tunnel and an example of it, and also how to set up multiple tunnels. So what is SSH tunneling? It creates an encrypted tunnel to a system or service using an established SSH connection. It can be compared to port forwarding or a VPN, and some use cases are to connect to a service or application that is not publicly available, such as like an iDRAC of a server. You can secure traffic to an application or service, and you can also use it offensively to hide your true source and to also bypass firewall rules. Forward tunneling. So forward tunneling simply forwards a port from your client machine to the designated endpoint over the SSH connection. The local machine must be able to listen on that port, so you need to have correct permissions and also not already have a service listening. And an example would be your SSH into example.com. The dash capital L specifies a local listen and forward tunnel. The 127.0.0.1 is going to be the interface that you're going to be listening on. 8443 is the port that you're going to be listening on, and that section is for your client machine. The tunnel.com and the 443 is going to be the designated endpoint. So let's take a look at this example, but in a visual way. So if you look at this command, you are creating an SSH connection to example.com. When you create your tunnel, you're going to define that you're going to listen on your local interface on 8443, and you want to have this 8443 connect over to tunnel.com on 443. So the way this works is you create the SSH connection and you specify that anything on 8443 you want to be forwarded over to tunnel on 443. So across the wire though, you will not see your local machine on tunnel.com. You will see the most recent machine or whichever one you actually connected to, which in this case is example.com. So if you look at the net stats below, on your local machine, you're going to see your random high port to example from your SSH connection. You're going to see the local listening port that you specified, 8443 listening. And then when you actually make a connection onto that 8443, you're going to see your local interface random high port to your local interface 8443. On example.com, you're going to see the connection from your local machine connected on port 22. And since example.com is the one actually establishing connection to forward the tunnel, you're going to see example.com random high port going to tunnel.com on port 443. And then if you look on tunnel.com, you will only see the connection from example.com. You won't actually see the tunnel, even though the data and information that is coming across in this connection will be from your local machine. So reverse tunneling is kind of the same, but instead of forwarding to a machine beyond your SSH connection, you will actually be opening up a port on that machine and then forwarding all traffic that hits that port back to your machine. So it forwards a port from the SSH server machine back to the local machine. The local machine must still be able to listen on that port, as well as the SSH server machine must be able to listen on that port as well. So for this example, you're going to SSH to example.com. -R specifies the reverse tunnel. The XXXX, so this is what you will actually specify for the IP listening on the remote machine. If you set it to nothing, it defaults to 0000, which will be any interface, but you can also specify whatever interface if it's like dual NICed or it has two networks attached to it and you need it to be listening on one network and not the other. 443 is the port that is going to be opening on the remote machine, and then the 127.0.0.1 and 8443 is the interface and port that is going to be listening on your local machine. So now let's look at this example visually. So looking at this command, you're going to create a SSH session over to example.com. The -R is 443, so you're going to be having example.com start to listen on 443. And then any information or data that hits this specific port on this specific server will then be forwarded back to your server on 8443, or your machine on 8443, sorry. So looking at the net stats, so in this connection, or in this case, tunnel.com is making the connection 443, and it will actually not hit 443 on example.com, but it would be forwarded back to your machine on 8443, designated with this tunnel picture right here. So let's look at the net stats. So tunnel.com just simply sees its connection from a random high port going to example.com on 443. On example.com, you're going to see the SSH connection from your local machine. You're going to see the port that you designated to open. You're going to see tunnel.com making the connection to example.com's port that's open. And then you're going to see another one where example.com then forwards that traffic back to your local machine on the port that you designated. Looking at your local machine, you're just going to see the 3, which is your SSH connection to example, the port that you designated to listen on, and example.com random high port connecting back to your 8443 listening. So what about if you want to set up multiple tunnels? So looking at this picture, we have a use case of you can only SSH to example.com. Maybe it's for IP tables rules, or maybe there's a firewall in the way that only allows 22 through, and you want to forward all traffic that hits tunnel.com and send it back to your local machine, otherwise known as tunnelception. So the two commands that you would do in order to do this is you will SSH to example.com, set up a forward tunnel. We're going to use 5022 in this case. That'll then SSH to tunnel.com. So now you're going to SSH to yourself on 5022, which is the tunnel you set up. So what this will do is actually SSH you from your local machine to tunnel.com. And you're going to set up the reverse listening tunnel on that machine to send everything back to 8443 on your local machine. So let's break down this first line, which will set up a SSH connection to tunnel.com over the tunnel that you create through example.com. So you are going to make a SSH connection to example.com. You're going to set up a listening port of 5022, and you are going to want to forward that to the SSH server port on tunnel.com. So this is what the netstats will look like before you actually send data through that tunnel. So that's why you can see that there's no connection yet on tunnel.com. So let's look at what happens when you do the second command. So once you do the second command, you're going to connect to yourself on 5022, which is going to SSH to tunnel.com, and then from there you will set up your listening and reverse tunnel. So if we break down the net stats here, you have your one SSH connects to example.com, which then sets up your listening port. And then what you're going to do is you're going to actually SSH to that 5022 listening port, and then that will set up the 8443 listening port, which will be accepting traffic of anything that hits 443 on tunnel.com. On example.com, you're going to have the 2, which is going to be the SSH connection from your local machine, and then you're going to have the SSH connection to the tunnel.com machine. On tunnel.com, you're going to see the one SSH connection from example.com, and then you're going to notice that tunnel.com is then going to have a 443 listening, and then that is going to be the reverse tunnel from the second command. I just want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions, please put it in the comments below, whether it be how-to videos, topic explanation, or any tech that you would like for me to review. Have a good day.